Across the globe, immigration has become the most defining political issue of our time. In Germany, the AfD surges on anti-immigrant rhetoric. In America, border politics dominate campaign promises. And in Sweden, immigrant concerns shape traditional politics. This isn't spontaneous, it's strategic. Immigration has become the perfect political weapon. Because when economies falter, politicians need someone to blame. It's a convenient distraction that shifts focus from complex economic realities to easy identified short-term solutions to all the problems.
It's really quite manipulative in many ways. It plays on people's fears and it gives them hope.
While headlines focus on immigrant crime stories, millions quietly fill essential jobs in aging society where birth rates have collapsed. The question isn't why immigration has become a global hot topic issue. It's rather, why do we allow it to distract us from the real problems that truly shape our societies?
It's very emotional, it's very emotive.
In the past decade, something fundamental has shifted in Western politics. Immigration has emerged as one of the most important issues to voters, whether in the US elections or in Europe, where numerous countries went to the ballot box in the past year. In the US, immigration was one of the main issues ahead of the presidential election. The case was similar in Germany, where the far-right Alternative for Germany, which has been designated in parts as extremist, came in second with 152 mandates in the parliament. This almost doubled their previous results from previous election when they only managed to scramble 83 seats. And let's not forget legislative election in France last year, where polls heavily favored the far-right National Rally to win. This development led France's star footballer Kylian Mbappé to urge voters to stand against extremist parties.
Aujourd'hui, on voit très bien que les extrêmes sont aux portes du pouvoir et on a l'opportunité de choisir le futur de notre pays. Et c'est pour ça que j'appelle à tous les jeunes d'aller voter, de vraiment prendre conscience de l'importance de la situation.
How much his appeal affected the French legislative election remains unclear. But he certainly faced backlash from the leader of the National Rally, Marine Le Pen. To add insult to injury, the party did secure the largest vote share in the first round, but ended up as only the third largest party once the second round was completed. The case is similar in other European countries as well. In the Swedish parliamentary elections in 2022, the far-right Swedish Democrats became the second largest party. The same year, Giorgia Meloni became Italy's first female prime minister. She campaigned with immigration as one of the main issues. These are just a few examples of countries where far-right ideas and parties are on the rise. But why has immigration become such a hot topic?
Well, immigration has always been a political hot topic.
I talked to Tahir Abbas, who is a professor in Radicalization Studies at Leiden University in the Netherlands.
It's very emotional, it's very emotive. It's easy to dangle this in front of people and then it's sort of out there and not here. It's really quite manipulative in many ways. It plays on people's fears and it gives them hope that if we eliminate immigration, we're not just going to get our houses back, get our women back, get our jobs back, but we'll also have less crime, less disease, less parasites on our streets. I mean, it's also a lot of racial science here as well that's sort of masked.
This rhetoric that Abbas is talking about is not new. Time and again, leaders have used immigrant card to slander them. We all remember when Donald Trump accused Haiti migrants of eating pets.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Although this was corrected by the news anchors, there are instances during speeches, for example, where crime statistics have been used to form immigrants as villains. Swedish politician Jimmie Åkesson has repeatedly blamed immigration as the primary cause of most issues in Sweden. However, this claim has been debunked by a new study conducted by University of Örebro that states crime is not tied to skin color, but rather to social circumstances. The study found that there is a minimal connection between immigration and crime. It also states municipalities experiencing significant increases in crime activities had often high unemployment rates and low level of education, which could explain the rise in criminal activities. According to the study, these socioeconomic circumstances had a more substantial impact on the crime levels than the proportion of immigrants living in the area. To blame others for their failures is not new to the politics, and that's exactly what these leaders are playing on.
Responsible leaders take responsibility. We just don't have that. We haven't seen that. I'm thinking of the UK political classes of the last 20, 25 years. It's been a gradual decline. And it's the lack of quality of people putting themselves forward. And those who are good, who do speak truth to power, who are, it doesn't matter what party political lines they have, they're just good, honest, hardworking people. They get drowned out or shouted out or pushed out.
So if I interpret you correctly, speaking the harsh truth is not what people want to hear nowadays. Is that correct?
I would say so. The harsh truth is the last thing that people want to hear because they don't know how to deal with it. And they don't want to deal with it. They'd rather be dealt with by somebody else, or it becomes somebody else's problem. Or it's just too hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Hard truths often also mean looking at one's own privileges. People want to do that.
Abbas highlights how immigration becomes an emotional tool that distracts us from addressing complex issues. The success of anti-immigration rhetoric isn't happening in vacuum. It thrives in a specific social and economic environment that have laid the groundwork for right-wing ideologies to flourish.
The right has become much more powerful and very much in the ascendancy because there's no opposition, there's really no alternative because the center ground is gone. So we've got extremes on either side, you would say. So I think it tells you something about politics, political trust, social trust has been going down in Europe for the last 20 years.
Although immigration is right's most beloved child, the reality is that many of the actual problems, such as economic decline, have deeper and structural cause. And one of the biggest issues of our time is declining birth rates. The global birth rate is and has been on a decline over a long period of time as people battle higher costs of living and childcare. This map shows how European countries shape up considering the declining birth rates. Countries like Germany, Spain, and Italy have registered a record low number of birth rates. Western nations are aging. The simple math is that fewer births today mean fewer tax workers and fewer workers tomorrow to pay for the retiree. And yet, instead of addressing this demographic crisis, politicians find it easier to point fingers.
I think it's because there's no real commitment to invest properly enough and think that far ahead enough. I mean, how do you get people to make more babies? You make housing affordable so they can move out of their parents' homes. So many kids, so many people in their 30s can't do that in Spain and Portugal.
As we have explored throughout this video, the immigration has spontaneously become the most defining political issue of our time. It has been deliberately elevated to this status because it serves a purpose, distracting us from complex systemic problems that powerful interests have little incentive to solve. When politicians point finger to immigration as the source of our problems, they are asking us to look away from decades of economic policies that have hollowed out the middle class. Western societies are aging rapidly, and without any significant increases in either birth rates or immigration, our economies and social systems risk collapsing.
It's going to suffer big time because there's nobody to work to pay the taxes to fill up the pension pots for future generations to retire.
The question isn't whether immigration will continue. The question is whether we will continue to allow it to divide us, or we will demand our leaders to address the actual issues that determine our collective prosperity. Immigration isn't the crisis, it's the smokescreen, and until we see through it, the real problems will remain unaddressed and the cycle of blame will continue.